Good evening, everyone. Through the courtesy of Channel 3, this reporter who has spent some 31 years on assignment here on the shores of Lake Washington at least once a year for the unlimited races that are held each year and have been since about the year 1950 or 51. And so I thought it might be pretty nice for you to start here on the start and finish line barge, take a general look around, and realize that the excitement that is engendered by the boats and the drivers on the field and the special exhibition of people like the Blue Angels, that's all part of the scene too. But we report the end result up here. Perhaps it is better for us to go even further behind the scenes, go down to the south end of the course, into the Stanley Sayers pit area, and talk with the men who are really the focal point of attention, the men who drive the boats that we all watch and call the Thunderboats, the Unlimiteds, racing on Lake Washington for the Emerald Cup. Follow me now into the Stanley Sayers pit area at the south end of the course here at Lake Washington. In the pit area, we talk first with a young gentleman that I consider to have one of the finest backgrounds in unlimited racing. He is a man who has been thoroughly schooled in the field of limited racing, came in with an outstanding reputation, came in with the intention of becoming a fully qualified unlimited racing driver. He steps into the hot seat of occupying the position taken by the late Bill Muncie. He inherits his boat. He becomes the driver of record for the Atlas Van Lines. We refer to Chip Hanauer, and this is what Chip had to tell us about the racing game as Chip Hanauer sees it. Hours after Dean Chenoweth met his untimely death in the Tri-Cities area qualifying for the Columbia Cup, you took your boat, the Atlas Van Lines, on the course and set a record effort in qualifying. This was just hours after Dean met his death. Is this the attitude that the sport performs in?
Yeah, it really is. You know, I would have expected the same thing of Dean, to go out and go as fast as he possibly could, safely as he could. That's the attitude of the sport. That's right, Bill.
May I ask you, as a driver, you're a sensitive young gentleman who is a teacher. You teach handicapped children who are limited in many different ways. You're a highly sensitive man. How do you operate in this sport that obviously has a death concept to it?
It's difficult, you know. It's a ruthless sport. It's a very brutal sport, and I live the rest of my life very conservatively. But when it comes to boat racing, I just try and be mentally tough.
Can you say this about all the drivers that are on the circuit, that if you're going to be a part of this unlimited racing circuit, you have to be mentally tough?
Absolutely. You know, it's a prerequisite for competing.
By the time that you're watching this, you will know that a precedent-shattering first has been established. A precedent-shattering first was established a year ago by Pat O'Day, a local radio station owner, who very carefully and quietly and with a great deal of safety and a great deal of concern for this young lady's welfare, brought her into the field as an unlimited racing driver. A good deal of controversy. I will be perfectly free to admit that I talked to him myself in very stern tone. Did he understand the impact of this? Did he really think in terms of safety, et cetera, et cetera? I was satisfied at that time that Pat had taken every reasonable precaution. I am more than satisfied as I sit here and watch Brenda Jones win a heat on her own, showing good driving skill, showing good driver discipline, and coming up on the line with as good a start as any one of our veteran drivers has ever been able to perform. Let's have her husband, Alan Jones, Captain America, talk with his wife, Brenda Jones, about the racing game.
I'm sure, so very few people have ever driven an unlimited hydroplane, and of course you've been clocked at 167 miles an hour. Can you explain the feeling as you get out and going at those speeds?
I think it's kind of hard to explain. I do a lot of concentrating, you know, on the other boats, and this year it's not the plan to stay towards the outside. So I'll be pretty much free to move in dating lane I want and to do the best I can. But I feel a lot more confident this year than I felt last year. Of course, I've been out onto the course before, and I'm just really looking forward to getting out there again and this time finishing the race.
Okay, it's all right on height. It's got to move over.
What the crew is doing right now is changing the turbocharger system, and of course that increases the pressure that the fuel can be accelerated into the cylinders, and it's pretty critical to get that just right. They've been experiencing a few difficulties with it, and they think they've got it together now. They're putting on a brand new set of turbochargers, and they'll be going out here shortly to test them out, and hopefully successfully, and won't be experiencing any more problems.
They said it was impossible. Impossible for a woman to drive an unlimited hydroplane. Thunderboats that move at 130 miles per hour and more. But they were wrong. They didn't know about Brenda Jones. A woman with the courage and determination to do 15,000 sit-ups in 15 hours for the Guinness Book of World Records was now about to set another record. The first woman in modern history to drive an unlimited hydroplane. And the man who had the belief to back her was Pat O'Day. Long known as the voice of seafair hydroplane racing, Pat O'Day now had his own boat and the vision to make Brenda Jones his driver.
Well, the future of the sport is secured. Boat racing is growing. Every year, every form of boat racing, from small boats to medium boats to offshore boats, it grows, and all we are is the epitome. We are the heavyweight championship fight of our sport, if you will. And as long as you're going to have all the amateurs and all the young pros coming up, you're going to have a heavyweight title bout, and as a result, there will always be Gold Cups, Seafair racing, Emerald Cup Seafair racing.
The final heat of the afternoon of racing on Lake Washington, the Sea Galley Emerald Cup. This is a view from Steve Reynolds' Prodelco boat, a special camera placed in there for this purpose. That gun indicates 1 minute to go before the start of the final heat. A 6-boat field that includes Atlas Van Lines, Budweiser, Toyota, Prodelco, Tempest, and for the first time, Miss KYYX, Brenda Jones, the driver. She had won a heat earlier in the afternoon. This is a view going up the back stretch. Notice that at least 5 of those boats will be up here pretty well as we get to the halfway part of the back stretch with this attempt to get up on the start and finish line right with the gun. And the boat leading the parade at the moment on the inside edge will be Chip Hanauer. That's a favorite placement for him. He's up on the inside corner, and we have the Atlas Van Lines on the inside with the Budweiser working to the outside corner. With 19 seconds to go, a shot from Steve Reynolds' boat. The Prodelco was in on the second lane and in pretty good position. Here's 4 of the boats up there. The Tempest is a little bit back, and so is the Miss KYYX. And as they come around and get ready to come down off the exit pin down to the start and finish line, it is Chip Hanauer in the inside corner, but it's a boat coming between 2 other boats, the Budweiser namely, that gets off to a quick start at the start and finish line. But Ron Armstrong, new in the boat after the accident to Dean Chenoweth, didn't have the lane speed that he needed. And so up on the inside corners, you'll notice on your screen at the moment, with that very quick shot of Steve Reynolds in the Prodelco in trouble and having to back off, and he fell off and finished in a 4th place finish. But at this particular moment, on the first of 5 times around the course, Atlas Van Lines secured the inside edge, and Chip Hanauer, her pilot, looking for his 3rd win on the circuit for this year and his 6th career win, is in command at this particular point in time. The Budweiser, Ron Armstrong, piloting the boat for the first time, is 3 to 5 seconds behind at this particular point. As we move up the back stretch of the race, the rest of the field is pretty well spread out, and it was off this south corner that the Miss KYYX came into trouble with her turbo and had to drop away. She kept around to the outside of the course, eventually went into the pit area, did not even finish 1 lap, but she did get a start. She was last in the field across the line. Tempest has now fallen off as you watch the lead boat coming off the exit pin of the north corner, down past the 1,000-foot mark, and down at the end of her first lap, well in command of the situation, some 10 to 12 seconds in front of Budweiser, who will be the 2nd place boat across the line at the end of lap 1. That is the Budweiser right there. Ron Armstrong doing a great job with the boat. Chip Hanauer holding to the inside edge, and a wire-to-wire winner. We'll leave no illusion with you on that one, and doing a beautiful job of driving. One of the top lap speed was 122 miles an hour, and he averaged pretty close to 116 for the 5 times around the course. The Budweiser coming into the south corner of the course, as another excellent job of turning is done out of the south area of the course by the Atlas Van Lines, which had been plagued by some balancing trouble ever since she was brought over here from Pasco in the Tri-Cities area. But they got her fixed up, and she was ready to go for this final heat, which, albeit had 3 of the fast boats drop out because of that 3-boat collision. Atlas Van Lines at the 3/4 mark of the backstretch now, lap number 2, and there's a picture of Budweiser, and she at this moment is 5 to 8 seconds behind in the back chute of her 2nd lap. This is the Toyota running in 3rd place, another crowd favorite, and Atlas Van Lines coming off the exit pin of the north corner has established about a 3-buoy marker lead, which would give her a lead of, say, 10 to 15 seconds, roughly speaking. Atlas Van Lines coming down to the end of her second lap, still in lead, still in command of the situation. Chip Hanauer, one of the best in the field, worked his way up to the limited and is known for his ability to put the boat up on the line at the right time for an excellent start. And Ron Armstrong is a pilot who was brought into the game by Ron Jones, and he did a simply magnificent job with the Budweiser. This is Toyota. She doesn't have the chute speed that is needed, and this is Prodelco with Steve Reynolds qualifying at a very respectable 131 miles an hour. But this boat, the hull, 10 years of age, had all its improvements that it could have from Ron Jones, its original designer, and simply is not competitive beyond a certain point. Steve sort of has to wait for the field to come back to him. Tempest, meanwhile, is running back in 4th place at the moment, and that's about where she stayed, and in 5th place. This is the 3/4 mark of the backstretch. Your lead boat, Atlas Band Lines, Chip Hanauer, the pilot, going up past the log boom area, moving into the entrance area to the north turn. Now you watch him come around. Excellent job coming off that pin area, loses no time at all, and down past the halfway at the buoy marker. That's down to the start and finish line. Budweiser just coming off the top part of the north turn. This is the north side of the course, flanked, of course, on the driver's right by the Lake Washington floating bridge. A beautiful scene, one of the most beautiful courses on the unlimited scene. Budweiser, a close-up shot of Ron Armstrong and his boat. That boat was never able to go over 135 to 140 miles in the chute. Toyota in a close-up look coming off the north corner of the course. And then trailing back of that is Prodelco and Tempest driven by Jack Schaefer. Here is your lead boat going down into the south corner of the course. Atlas Band Lines on the lead. Chip Hanauer, the pilot, in command in this final heat of the Galley Emerald Cup. Going through the south corner of the course, notice the steady move of the rooster tail coming off the inside sponson, and a good steady rooster tail that indicates that he's full bore on it all the way around. On the back chute, the relative difference in the two boats, you have your lead boat out there in Chip Hanauer and the Atlas Band Lines, some 15 to 20 seconds now out in front of Ron Armstrong coming off the exit pin of the south corner. A tight shot up past the log boom area, 3/4 mark of the backstretch. Atlas Band Lines, and coming out of the spray, now there will be a lapping on Tempest coming off the north side of the course out of the north corner. And there will also be a lapping a little bit later on by this boat that is running in second place, the Budweiser. This is the Tempest up there on the inside corner, and here comes the Atlas Band Lines, and there'll be a lapping about halfway down the in-lane chute on this time around the course. Yes, there's the lapping right there, just at the start and finish line of the next lap. Atlas Band Lines going by, moving to the outside, then moving back to the inside, and here comes Budweiser, Ron Armstrong doing a good steady job, and he puts a lapping a little bit further down the in-lane chute on the Tempest. Prodelco running in the back, and by this time, of course, the KYX has already dropped out of it, but Pat O'Day has certainly proved a point with his lady driver. There you have a pretty good shot from overhead as they move through the south corner of the course, and here's your lead boat as he starts up the back chute area of the course here at Lake Washington. Atlas Band Lines, Chip Hanauer, who up to this point in time had won 2 of the 5 races on the course, the only boat to win more than 1 race, and he's about to pick up his 3rd in this afternoon's racing, as 2 of his toughest competitors, the Squire Shop, and also, of course, the Pay and Pack, dropped out with that 3-boat collision in one of the earlier heats of the afternoon on the racing day at Lake Washington. Off the exit pin, the lead boat. Taking a look at Atlas Band Lines, Chip Hanauer, the pilot, coming down now to get the checkered flag. And there it is, the victory hand in salute. The win for Atlas Band Lines, her 3rd of the afternoon, to finish behind Budweiser, and then Toyota, and then Prodelco, and then Tempest. And this KYYX, the 6th boat to start in the final heat of the Galley Emerald Cup, did not finish, went less than a lap. Congratulations to Chip Hanauer, winner of his 3rd race of the season for Atlas Band Lines and Chip Hanauer, and for his career, 6 wins so far for this young, talented driver.